Welcome to the Bald Guy Cooks, simple cooking for a simple lifestyle. And I'm the Bald Guy, as always. Well, we did have a little switch up last week. Mrs. Bald Guy did a little guest appearance. I think she's going to be doing a segment every week around, we love football and we hang out with a group that we watch the games with all the time, so we're always bringing simple ideas for snacks. So looking forward to seeing her more. Today we are utilizing one of the cookbooks I've done a review of, Mark Bittman's Kitchen Express, and these are just wonderful. 404 inspired seasonal dishes, so he does spring, summer, winter, and fall, or fall and winter, that you can make in 20 minutes or less. And this is a wonderful recipe, mushroom pasta. So simple, so easy. I do have the pan going, so I have it on medium-high, and I'm going to have that going for maybe a minute or so, just getting that pan up to pace or up to heat. Add a couple tablespoons of olive oil. And not quite the heat I want. Oh, there's a sizzle starting. So I am going to add them, and it'll just keep it heating up here. So this is probably 6 mushrooms, I think. Big, pretty good sized button mushrooms. And we're going to be sweating or sauteing them down a little bit to translucent. We'll be adding a little bit of garlic and some white wine and reducing this down. Just a really, really simple. You could do all these things ahead of time. I did pre-cooked pasta the other day, and I'm going to be using some more pasta, so I made about 2 boxes or 2 pounds of pasta. So this should help with about 3 meals. And I just, you drain it, cool it down with some water, some cool water from the faucet, and then add a little oil to it and toss it so it doesn't stick together. And then I just took out the amount we're going to be using, added a little warm water to it to get it up to temperature, and once the sauce is ready, then we will just add it and toss it, and voila, it's time for dinner. So, mushrooms are going. So when we come back, these will have kind of broken down a little bit. See how they're firm at this point and not translucent? These will sweat down a little bit. They'll get a lot more, or a lot softer, let's say. And so right now I'm just letting them put in the first layer and let it cook down a little bit, probably about 2 minutes. I'll come back in, stir them up a little bit, and get all the sides brown and nice, and just releasing a lot of wonderful flavor. In the meantime, while that's going on, I'm going to add a little, probably about a ½ teaspoon of salt. And this is for 2 people. So you may think, oh, you guys eat a lot. And we do. Especially if it's something that's really good like this recipe is. So we'll be back in a couple minutes. The mushrooms will be sauteed, and then we'll start the sauce. See you in a sec. Okay, it's been about 2 to 3 minutes, so come on in, take a look at what's happened in the pan here. So notice how before they were real white, and now they've gone more rubbery, oh not rubbery, but flexible, let's say. And they just pulled up a little color. I'm just going to take my tongs here. You can use a spatula as well, kind of redistribute them. And while those are kind of finishing out, let's chop some garlic up. And so I just took some, probably 5 or 6 smaller heads. Usually a lot of garlic comes kind of with bigger heads, but smaller works as well. Still garlic. And just go in and mince this up real quick. The crushing just makes them flat and makes them easier to mince. Yep, got a little skin on there. Or paper, I guess is a better word than skin. So we're going to add this to the pan. Get that sauteing up. This is when, I mean, mushrooms smell good in themselves, that you put garlic with them, and it is just sheer, oh my goodness. I am hungry now. And then his recipe does call for about a cup. So it's interesting about this recipe. This is kind of a really, it's tough to follow the recipe because he doesn't give you exact measurements. So and I really love that because it just really makes you challenge yourself. Oh my gosh, there's wine left over. Yeah, that's white wine. So a cup of white wine, and this is a really inexpensive $3-4 bottle of wine, so you don't have to buy. This is actually one of my favorite Chardonnays, so you could use really any white wine, jug wine, box wine. And so I'm going to turn the heat back up a little bit here, and we're going to be reducing that down a little bit. It's going to cook the garlic, so the garlic's not browning as if you were sauteing it, so it just kind of mellows the flavor of garlic out and just infuses the white wine and flavors the mushrooms, and it's just a little bit of wonderfulness. I do have the pasta, pre-cooked pasta that I had mentioned before. Put that in hot water. So it's warm. We'll want to heat it up to the temperature here as we toss it, but get that draining, and that way it's not stuck together and it's going to be easy to stir. And I'm just finding little chunks of garlic all over the place. I want to get that into the sauce here. So what we're doing right now is reducing it and really condensing the flavor. I do want to just kind of taste the sauce at this point, and we're essentially wanting to reduce this down about half. Oh yeah, that's good. And it's just condensing the sweetness of the wine. It's continuing to simmer the the garlic and the mushrooms. Gonna add a little more salt, just for the fact that. And then we have Parmesan and parsley that we'll add at the end. Parsley just adds a really nice layer of green, something fresh to this. And then the Parmesan will add a little more sauce, or a little more saltiness, the creaminess to it. And then will help just kind of coat the pasta with the sauce here. So we are getting super close here. And let me just double check the recipe. Pasta with mushrooms. Okay. Just do another flavor check here. Oh my goodness, that is good. Okay, so we're going to keep this as fresh as possible. Parsley now. Turn the heat down a little bit. Get that going in there. And then going to add pasta. And at this point, we're just really tossing the pasta in the sauce. I'm gonna, because it's warm because of the warm water that I added to it, but still needs to heat up. Ooh, that sound just makes my spine crawl. And because I just like butter, butter just adds flavor to everything. I'm just going to add a little, this is not in the recipe, but butter makes everything better. It's just a different flavor than olive oil. It just adds a little more savoriness to it. Okay, so the pasta's hot. Let me just double check that I did cook it to al dente, so it wasn't fully cooked. Oh my God. Okay, so it is ready to roll. And And then I'm going to add half a cup of Parmesan. If you love Parmesan, great. Always taste it, and that way if it needs more seasoning, you can add it. But you don't need to, if you have people that are kind of don't like a lot of salt or a lot of pepper, they can always add it later. But I think just start with a good base. Oh my goodness. And let me just do another little check here. Oops. Oh my God. That is money. Okay. We're ready to go. So let's play it up here. You could have, I didn't think of having a little extra parsley as a garnish to make it a little more pretty. Or prettier, I guess is a better way to say it. Let's add some mushrooms to put on top. Yeah, this would look really nice with a little more parsley on it. Just going to do a little cracked black as kind of a... And you should be jealous because this is going to be awesome. And thanks for joining us tonight. This is what we're eating for dinner, so I'd love to share that with you. Thanks for coming into our home. And remember, subscribe, comments. Love to hear your suggestions, ideas. If you have questions, does this go with this? If I do this, will that mess it up? And it really comes down to your preference. So I'd love to really just work through what do you love, and let's make more of that. So feed your family and feed yourself. Because when it gets down to it, life's pretty simple. And lifestyle can follow that too, just following with the cooking. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again soon.